I have a soft spot for Schumann, especially in recent years. And this piece is, I find, quintessential Schumann. It's really quintessential Schumann, and in its changements of moods, in its, you know, it's completely imprevisible, it's completely wild, and the way the piece unfolds, the way, you know, this Schumannesque way of creating a musical form, which very often is just, I find, unfolding and going into circles and going into some kind of, you know, almost, I don't want to say trance, because this would be maybe understood wrongly, but going into something that is barely controllable towards the end, and sort of he loses himself, like he's running in circles, and at some stage I have the impression he cannot basically get out of this, you know, and this is just a wonderful, you know, of course it's very difficult to convey this to an audience, and it's very difficult to you know, to make it happen, this craziness, without going crazy oneself, you know, so there is a sort of dangerous line which one shouldn't cross, I guess. Well, this is the second volume of the Overgrown Path, which is very seldom played and has no titles. The first volume has, you know, it's pieces which actually have, Janáček has written some titles to them, you know, and this was not really published during his lifetime, this second book, and I could not say how specifically I'm attached to those pieces as opposed to other piano pieces by Janáček. I just basically feel very, very close and inspired by Janáček's music very generally, you know, whether it's the piano pieces or the piano violin sonata or the quartets or the operas, you know. So I just find this music so, you know, it's the quintessential of the Slavic soul for me, but which is not, I would say, westernized, which is not packed in a nice little present box, you know, to please the bourgeois audience, sort of, you know. It's just raw, this purity of you know, where the Slavic soul is just spoken very directly. As an opposition, it's always good to speak about a composer with opposition. So as an opposition, I would see Szymanowski, you know, to Janáček. Szymanowski, who I'm very close to as well, but you know, who was a great aesthete, you know, Szymanowski, who's traveled all over, you know, who was so conscious of the aesthetics of his times, you know, and Janáček, you have the impression of this little man, you know, closed in his little town in Moravia, and basically just writing whatever his soul tells him, you know, and there's this sort of, you know, almost scream of his soul that goes straight onto the music paper, you know, and this is what I find so touching and so pure somehow, you know. I'm trying to think, you know, what's the, and I can't think of a thread. I mean, really, maybe the thread is that all of them are so different, you know, and I don't like being, how to say, I don't feel comfortable being associated to a style, being boxed into, you know, I only play German music, I only play classical music, let's say from the classical period, or I am a Bach specialist, or, you know, and I'm not saying this about what people say about me. It's actually about myself. Yeah, I just need to explore very different types of musical expression, you know, and so, you know, between Janáček and late Beethoven and Schumann and Bach, I mean, I would like to find a thread, but it's definitely not, okay, it's definitely not a logical, rational thread, yeah? I mean, obviously it does correspond to me somehow, but I can't find a thread that I could really clearly put into words and, you know, rationally say it. Yeah. You see, there is no, usually with this kind of masterpieces like the late Beethoven sonatas, I don't find myself that I change my interpretation. You know, basically, once I fix the sort of general rules of how the piece somehow should evolve from the first note to the last, which takes usually lots of time. This is the process of learning. You know, once I've sort of, I don't want to say establish this. Once this process is, you know, somehow one with me, you know, and I sort of, we both somehow agree, you know, then I don't really change this, you know, and then I think the piece just very gently evolves as I evolve, you know, and so you know, I get more gray hair with time, but my face is still sort of the same, you know, and so it's maybe the same. There is no big revolution, but also I'd like to point out that, you know, it's very different, the process of learning a piece and then the process of playing it on stage, and I guess with those sort of pieces, years after years on stage, generally I just feel better, and I feel more, because the brain is not there anymore at all, you know. I mean, there was lots of brain in it at the beginning, but more I play it, less I think, more it's part of me, and it becomes like breathing, you know, and usually it's in my view it gets better on stage, but that's my view. I don't know.
Would you play early Beethoven or middle period Beethoven?
I adore early Beethoven, and in fact I'm planning to do much more now of early Beethoven. Middle Beethoven I have a sort of conflictual relation, and I don't. Of course, depends very much on which piece, but something stops me. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is exactly, but early Beethoven I'm very, very keen